Back here on the Next Panel podcast, Graham G. Matthews here. As always, joined by two of the best out there around in wrestling and Marvel talk and anything you want to talk about. Today we're talking about Phase 6 of the MCU after last time we broke down Phase 5. Not as much to speak about as far as what we know about Phase 6, but we're going to kind of fill in the blanks a little bit, maybe give some I Am Groot thoughts as well, which came out a couple of weeks ago from when we're recording right now. Chris, you're back here on the podcast, BR_Doctor on the Twitter machine. Doc, Chris Mueller, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. Weird Marvel stuff coming up, but I'm looking forward to most of it.
Definitely a lot of stuff coming up between Phase 5 and Phase 6. Like I said, we broke down the entire Phase 5, the three of us with Connor on the last podcast, so check that out if you haven't already. Phil, you're back as well. Phil, DL616 on the Twitter machine. Phil Lindsey. Phil, what's going on, dude?
I'm good. I am actually in the midst of looking at a commercial for No Way Home that is coming back to theaters in September and thinking about going.
Yeah, no, I saw that. So I heard it's, 11 or 15 minutes of, like, new footage or something. It's a 3-hour movie, so it's going to be like a 3-hour and 15-minute movie. But, I mean, the movie, even without the new footage, I mean, the movie was so great that I'm definitely, I saw that as well. Is it just an AMC thing, or is that everywhere?
I'm not sure. It's, Marvel is doing all the promotion for it. So I think if it was just AMC, maybe AMC would be promoting it.
Good
I'm not
point.
sure.
I say that because I know that they're doing that with Rogue One, actually, before Andor comes out in a couple weeks. At the end of, I was going to say the end of August. It's coming out in September, but they're bringing it back in AMC theaters, I think exclusively. I think this coming weekend, actually, if not next weekend, which is pretty cool. So I like that they're doing that, because I would see a lot of these movies for a second time for sure. Between that stuff, and I saw yesterday that Thor Love and Thunder, which we talked about a few months ago, that's actually coming to Disney Plus on September 8th, I think. So, I mean, obviously we're the diehards. We're going to see this stuff soon after it comes out. But if there's ever a movie that you're not completely sold on, like when The Eternals came out last year, it's kind of set in stone at this point, aside from No Way Home. A lot of these MCU movies will be released on Disney Plus within 2 months of being released, which is pretty cool. I assume that's going to continue being the case going forward. But like I said, Phase 6, we talked about Phase 5 last time. The only 3 movies that we know of as of now for Phase 6 include the Fantastic Four movie, which has been long anticipated. We've been waiting that for a very long time now. And then the next 2 Avengers movies. Avengers, technically 4, or rather 5, because technically Endgame would be the 4th Avengers movie. But Avengers The Kang Dynasty in May of 2025. And then Avengers Secret Wars in November of 2025. Fantastic Four comes out November 2024, November 8th specifically. So obviously, Phase 6 will consist of more than just that. If there's going to be movies in between the Avengers movies, we don't know. We don't know if Fantastic Four is going to be what kicks off the phase. I would assume so, but we don't know that for a fact. And how many other movies we'll get and shows in that time frame as well. So, I mean, this is a ways away. We're speaking right now in August of 2022, but this is going to be here before you know it. And I look forward to it because all 3 of these projects are pretty big. So, Chris, I'll start with you, talking a bit about Fantastic Four. We've been waiting for this for such a long time. Nothing's set in stone yet regarding the mutants, which we'll get to momentarily, but we now know a release date for this movie unless it changes. What's your expectation for it and what you're looking forward to about this new movie?
I mean, I don't expect them to do the John Krasinski casting again. So I'm just mostly curious to see who they get for the main 4 and for Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is one of those villains that really should be bigger than just a one-movie thing. So that's kind of what I'm most curious about, is who the Doctor Doom of the MCU is going to be and whether they're going to be the next big bad after Kang or not.
Yeah, I know Kang obviously was introduced in Loki Season 1. I assume he'll probably be in Loki Season 2 next year. He's obviously going to be in Quantumania, Ant-Man 3, early in 2023 next year. So he's going to be in a few stuff before the Kang Dynasty. That's all of what we know. He might be in even more than that. With Doctor Doom, like you said, he probably will be one of the big bads. The thing is, like, could they use Kang for the first Avengers movie and then Doctor Doom for the second? Because there's a lot of talk right now, too, that Doctor Doom might even be involved in Wakanda Forever, which, I mean, again, I don't follow the comics, I don't know, but do you think that's a possibility, Chris, that we could see Doctor Doom in that movie coming up as early as November?
I mean, it's possible, but I don't know why those rumors got started. Is there any indication in anything that says he's showing up, or is this just people dreaming?
I think it's based off of the leaked script that was going around for a while. with him. And I think from the leaked script, he was the character that shows up in the post credits.
I mean, stuff changes so much. Like, they literally shot scenes with Jeff Goldblum for Thor 4, and they didn't use any of them.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know if that script's real.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and Marvel's never going to confirm or deny.
Yeah, they'd
most likely deny it, even if it was real. But just keeping quiet is a better strategy because it keeps people talking.
No, exactly. And I think a lot of these movies, too, specifically with Wakanda Forever, there's always people that are cast for the movie that we know of, but we don't know what role they're playing. So immediately people jump to, okay, this person could be Doctor Doom or this character or that character. And usually it's accurate, but I mean, I don't know. If you introduce him now, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but if you introduce him now in that movie for the post-credit scene, which is possible, Fantastic Four is not for another 2 years. So, I mean, I guess you can keep him around and then bring him back for then. I don't know if you use him in another Phase 5 title. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on Fantastic Four, the movie, Phil, as far as us waiting so long for it? We're finally getting it in 2 years, and what you're looking forward to about this movie from what we know at the moment, which is very little, admittedly.
I just want this to be a good Fantastic Four movie. I think that people have come to the conclusion that Fantastic Four is impossible to make, which I just think is ridiculous. It isn't impossible to make. We just haven't got the right formula yet. And I think that there are a lot of things with Marvel right now that can make that work. John Watts is directing it, which gets me excited because that makes me feel like we're finally going to see Fantastic Four and Spider-Man on screen together, which I feel like that's the crossover I've wanted for the longest, probably more than wanting to see Spider-Man in an Avengers movie.
Yeah, you mentioned how people are just wanting a good movie out of Fantastic Four. Don't you think the bar's pretty low? I mean, for this movie to be good, just considering the last three, the first two ones that came out in the mid-2000s, the other one that came out in 2015, were just not great. So, I mean, for this one to be good, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be good regardless. It's Marvel usually doesn't go wrong with this sort of stuff, but I feel like people got to realize the bar's pretty low, and it's going to be hard for it to be as bad as it was, all those years ago.
What sucks, though, is we've reached a point with Marvel stuff where anything that comes out is either, to a lot of people, the best thing ever or the worst thing ever.
Yeah, that's just with anything,
There's no room for something that's just good anymore. So, like, Captain Marvel is not a god-awful, terrible movie. It's not my favorite movie in the world, but people who act like it's some abomination, it's like, guys, if that movie had come out before Iron Man and all this other MCU stuff, it would have blown your minds.
Yeah.
You're spoiled by having had so many big spectacle movies from Marvel that when something tries to be a little more intimate or falls a little short in your expectations, all of a sudden it's an abomination. So, no pun intended.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I'm kind of with Phil, like, I just want it to be good. I don't really think it needs to be the best thing ever, as long as it just meets the standards of what we expect from the MCU at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many titles too, because by that point we're gonna have, if you include the shows, fucking 40 different movies / shows in the next couple of years, all together dating back to 2008. I definitely agree. I feel like that's why Doctor Strange 2 and Thor 4 specifically just got the reputation they did, because it wasn't the greatest movie of all time. It wasn't as good as No Way Home for a lot of people, so it's immediately trash. Like, I don't understand that narrative at all.
I mean, most of the reactions I saw to Doctor Strange were good. Did you see bad ones?
I saw bad ones, not as many for Thor, but I did, yeah.
I've seen people that say that Multiverse of Madness is a bad movie, which I don't understand.
No, not at all.
I think our bar meter for what is or isn't a bad movie has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, like I said, if it's not your favorite thing ever, it's terrible, right? Like, that's how a lot of people view things now.
Yeah, like there was this graphic going around of the worst comic book movies, and Love and Thunder was on there, and I was like, this does not belong on there. Like, are you guys forgetting?
I saw that. They had Blade on there.
Yeah, are you guys forgetting how bad some of these movies were pre-MCU, pre-X-Men movies? Some of those movies were really, really bad. I mean, honestly, some of those X-Men movies are really bad.
They had Blade on there, and they didn't have Blade 3 on there. Like,
did
what?
It?
Yeah, I know which graphic you're talking about, because a lot of people were shitting on it. Because there was at least 3 or 4 movies that people were like, these are genuinely good. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I maybe I just didn't notice. Maybe I assumed it was Blade Trinity that was on there. I don't know.
But yeah, it's weird. Like, that's why I think some people are mistaking superhero burnout with just burnout on the discourse around superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm certainly tired of hearing people argue about it, but I still love watching this shit.
No, it's all still good stuff. I mean, I've yet to see anything in the last, I don't know how many years. I've never walked away from a Marvel movie thinking it was absolutely atrocious. I don't know. I guess just comparatively to people, it's just the worst thing ever, which I still don't understand. But I assume that's going to continue going forward too. So, like for example, if people were to argue, and we talked about this, I don't think the last time with Connor, but when we were talking about Phase 4 in general and where it falls and whatever, people just calling it terrible. I mean, maybe it is the weakest of the 4. I mean, I don't know. We'd have to really sit down and think about it. Or at least I would. But that doesn't mean it's terrible. Like, to say something is the weakest of a certain amount of things does not mean it's awful. I think there's definitely a difference there. But I don't know. I think with social media, things are just getting much more divisive. So, like you said, Chris, I think everyone thinks, oh, it's the best thing ever, the worst thing ever. There's no in between there.
Yeah, I mean, Phase 4 is all about occupying the world of Marvel with more superheroes.
Yeah, so, it's post-blip, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of introductions, and it seems like some people are like, well, it doesn't seem like anyone's important anymore, or these people aren't going to be around forever. It's like, that's not always the point. Like, not every character in Marvel has to be the most important character in Marvel. We can have these little side stories about minor characters that not everybody is familiar with, like Moon Knight. Like, I loved Moon Knight. It was fun. He's a great character, but he's not a character that's as mainstream as most of what we've gotten before him. So it's going to be one of those things where some people are like, well, what are they going to do with Moon Knight now? It's like, just let them figure it out.
Maybe they don't do anything with him. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know. I don't understand people that are like, what is the importance of this phase? I mean, it's clearly to set up legacy characters. Almost every property so far has set up a legacy character. So, I don't know.
We're obviously getting the Thunderbolts. We're getting the Young Avengers in some form or fashion. Whether they call it the Young Avengers or not is the question. But
yeah. I mean, they're taking a lot of their old cast off the board and creating new characters so they can recast without having to recast the actual character. I don't think it's that hard to understand.
No, they're like, Marvel's trying to do something that's never been done before, which they've already been doing for years by building the franchise the way they have. But now they're trying to ensure that it's around for another 15 years. And, so they're going to throw a lot of different stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and then whatever falls to the ground, they'll get rid of.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, I don't think the point is that we have to see Moon Knight and everything going forward, or there are a lot of characters. You can't include everyone in everything. So there are going to be some people that just get a season of a show, and that might be it. And he might pop up back in Avengers. I mean, not everyone has to. It becomes increasingly more difficult to continually feature people and progress their character arcs or whatever when you have as big of a roster as they do right now in the MCU. They got rid of a lot of people, or not a lot, but some of the main characters after Endgame, but there's still so many more they're introducing on a mere monthly basis at this point to the shows and movies, and it's a lot, but it's not always about we need a season 2 of this or that. I'm fine with the introduction shows, and like you said, introducing the legacy characters, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of these people again in Kang Dynasty Avengers Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret Wars. So, Phil, I'll start with you. When you see those 2 titles, it's our first pair of Avengers movies. These are coming out in 2025 as of right now. The first one since Endgame, which would have been 2019, 6 years from before these. Doing them in the same year is very interesting. We had Infinity War and Endgame come out within a year of each other, which that was a great formula. It makes people waiting to find out what's next. And 30 years ago, you probably would have had to wait 3 years to find out what was going to happen between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader between episodes 5 and 6, between, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But now we're only waiting 6 months to find out what the culmination of that phase is going to be and the MCU up to that point. So, like I said, Phil, start with that a little bit as far as the Avengers movies and when you see them with those titles and when they're coming out, what your thoughts on those are.
I mean, I think it's I think it's the right decision to not make an Avengers movie for whatever 3 or 2 years to get anticipation up for the next time we see the Avengers. Because the last two movies were such a big blow off. It was a blow off for a big 10-year long storyline. So it's cool to keep them off the board for a while and then come back to it later. I'm curious with the Kang Dynasty, who is going to be leading the team by that point. I could see it being Sam, but I could also kind of see it being Carol. I'm curious to see what the lineup is going to be for that team. This could be interesting. I could see it being like a version of like all new, all different Avengers, where it's like a mix of like older characters and young characters. That would be interesting. But then, like, when you're doing the two movies in the same year, I'm wondering what happens at the end of Kang Dynasty that sets up the next movie that we need like an immediate answer.
Yeah.
It's got to be something big.
Yeah, well, we know Secret Wars is the title of that movie, so, I mean, obviously, like I said, you guys know more about that than I would as far as what that entails and who it's going to involve and whatever. But, yeah, we're not even waiting a full year to find out what happens next. It's literally within, again, as of now, 6 months, May 2nd through November 7th, I think is the two release dates of those two movies. Unless I'm just misreading it here, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So
no, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Chris, talk a little bit about that and what you expect coming out of those two movies and what you think that final cliffhanger that Phil alluded to might be.
I honestly don't know, because Secret Wars and all the shit that Kang usually does could both be such big events that trying to tie them together in a way that seems like one is a sequel to the other, like, I'm very curious to see how they do that. But I feel like right now we're starting to get to a point where they're going to deviate a little more from the comics than they were originally even. So who knows if Secret Wars or the upcoming Secret Invasion thing are going to come anywhere close to resembling what we saw in the comics. Like, for all we know, the TV show, it's going to be like 5 people that got replaced by Skrulls, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, because I'd be curious what version of Secret Wars they're going with. Because if they're going with like the Secret Wars that happened off planet, or they're doing a Hickman run that was a few years ago, it seems like they're doing Hickman stuff because they've included incursions now. Because the incursions were happening in Multiverse of Madness. So I don't know.
Yeah, and anything can change between now and then. Like I said, it comes out in 3 years, so obviously we'll get a better idea of what it's going to consist of in the next 3 years. But because we barely know King as it is right now, he was only ever introduced in the first season of Loki. We know he's going to be in,
and that was a variant who's dead now.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, when you see Kang Dynasty, I mean, that could go a million different directions. And they do that on purpose. They want you to speculate as far as what it's going to be. But if that performance in that final episode, although it's not the same, obviously, variant as you mentioned, it's the same actor, his performance was amazing. That's any indication as far as what we're going to get from him in that movie. Because the role of the shoes of Thanos that he left behind were so big that it had to be something drastically different as far as who they go with and what they do for the next big threat and big bad in the MCU for the Avengers to overcome. And I think that might be it. I feel like just reading that, since that's the first movie, part of me thinks that he might be killed off at the end of that, or he won't be the big threat for the second one. He'll just be the focus of that one, and then whatever he does, a lot like with Loki in season 1, something will happen where killing him will affect the greater MCU and lead to Secret Wars. And I know the Russo brothers have mentioned, and we may have talked about this last time, that I don't know if they said they were interested in writing those movies, but they outright said before this was announced, that for Secret Wars, if they were to ever do it, which they are, they said that, or if Marvel were to ever do it, the Russo brothers would like to see it be done as a 2-movie plan because it's just too big to fit into one movie, even if it was 3 hours. So, Chris, is that something you would like to see as far as seeing the Russo brothers being brought back and doing those movies a lot like they did Infinity War and Endgame?
I mean, the Russos are obviously good at juggling a lot of things all at once. But I feel like there's a lot of directors they can slot in there who are going to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes down to, like, whether the scripts are any good.
But didn't they announce the director for the first one?
Did they?
I
I
don't
can't
know.
remember.
I think they did. I think the director for Shang-Chi is directing the
You're
first one.
right.
Oh, I forgot about that. I saw someone mention that.
Daniel Cretton or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Crest. I don't know his name.
Interesting. Yeah, no, Shang-Chi was good, so I completely forgot about that. I forgot that they confirmed that. But kind of going off the Shang-Chi stuff, I do want to do something here, because as far as what we know, like I said, we know Fantastic Four, we know Avengers Kang Dynasty, we know Avengers Secret Wars. That's it. And obviously more will be added. Well, actually, before I even get to my next thing, I'll ask you guys this. Do you think we should/will, and I'll start with you, Chris, do you think we should/will see any shows or movies introduced in that 6-month period between the two? I know with Infinity War and Endgame, we got two. We got Ant-Man 2, and we had Captain Marvel. Now, Ant-Man took place simultaneously. It didn't really have to do with Infinity War, although the post-credit scene did. And Captain Marvel was an introduction film that took place years earlier. So, other than that, nothing else happened.
It seems like they have two things here. Like, if you look at this timeline, between May and November, there's 2 spots for summer 2025.
Do you think it would be a show, or do you think it'd be a movie?
I'm not sure, but it looks like they're definitely going to have something in between the two. But for all we know, it'll be kind of like what happened in between Infinity War and Endgame, where the movie they release won't necessarily have a huge impact on that story.
Yeah, so the last thing that we see in that timeline is Kang Dynasty, and everything else could be either a prequel or take place simultaneously or whatever.
But it looks like there's 8 slots in Phase 6 that they have planned that weren't announced.
So, I mean, going off of that, there are a lot of projects that we know for a fact are happening. We talked a bit about it last time with Connor, the three of us did, in that there's stuff that we know have been announced and stuff that we know is coming, unless they cancel it, which they really haven't done a lot of, which they've done a little bit before, but not really, as far as stuff, oh yeah, this is happening, and then it doesn't happen. So there's a couple different movies that have been announced that we don't know are happening. So I'll throw a couple titles at you guys, and we'll discuss each one briefly as far as if you think it'll happen in Phase 6, because Phase 5 looks like it's full, so this will probably happen in Phase 6. At what point, I don't know. But for starters, we'll go with Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man 4, I think, was either announced or it's looking likely. I don't know how many more movies Tom Holland was signed on for, but what do you guys think of the future of Spider-Man and if we'll see him pop back up again in the MCU?
I could see Spider-Man being a slot here, especially if like he's reintroduced back into the MCU in Fantastic Four.
Yep.
See, that would be super fun if his movie and the Fantastic Four movie were sort of a two-hander, like dealing with the same shared threat.
Yeah, could it be a situation where it's similar to a Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home, where the events of Spider-Man immediately kind of led into Multiverse of Madness? Do you think it could be something similar to that?
It could be. I mean, Spider-Man at times has I know the Future Foundation stuff, he was basically on the team, but he's best friends with Johnny Storm. Like, there's so many ways they could get them to interact without even having the whole Fantastic Four there. Like, it could just be Johnny Storm that shows up in Spider-Man, and then in the next movie, the Fantastic Four is with Spider-Man a little bit or something. Like, there's a lot of ways they could go about it.
What about we just mentioned it, I mentioned it a second ago, Doctor Strange 3, which was essentially confirmed with the events that concluded Multiverse of Madness with, I forget her name, but the woman being introduced. What was that? Clea, okay. So if she shows up at the end of that movie, clearly we're headed for a third one, where it's rumored that they could reintroduce Dormammu or whatever. Does that happen in Phase 6?
Probably. Like, it seems like Doctor Strange could resolve that in a different movie. Like, they're trying to go stop an incursion, so maybe this will have something to do with Kang, and that'll lead into the Kang Dynasty. Yeah,
so it doesn't need its own movie. It could just kind of be introduced or tied into either Kang Dynasty or something else.
So I don't know if Doctor Strange 3 will even necessarily be the follow-up from the Clea stuff.
Yeah.
It might be something totally different. And they might even be trying to set up Clea as the next Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, that could be the case. What do you think, Phil, as far as, do you want to see a third movie, or do you think it could be tied up in one of the other projects they have coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see a third movie at some point. I'm just not sure if the third movie will come before Avengers comes out.
Yeah, it could probably be well before that. You mentioned it earlier, too, Shang-Chi. Again, another movie where the post-credit scene seemed to indicate that a sequel was coming. It seemed like it was very successful box office-wise for them as well. That seems like another lock as well for Phase 6. Is something that we could see at some point. Who else it would introduce or what else it would really deal with, I don't know. But that seems like a lock for Phase 6 as well at some point. Again, what time frame exactly, I don't know. But I'd be surprised if we didn't get a follow-up to that great movie we saw last year.
Yeah, I could definitely see Shang-Chi getting either fall 2024 or something like that.
I could also see them going to a TV series for that, because
I was just about to say, yeah.
You don't need, Shang-Chi's got the rings, yeah, but you don't need a huge spectacle of special effects with a character like that, because what made Shang-Chi so fun for me was all the martial arts stuff. So Daredevil has proven that you can do that with a smaller budget. You don't need a bunch of fireworks. So they could limit, what the rings are really responsible for and have most of the action just be hand-to-hand. Put him on Disney Plus. Give him a show there. I think there would be a lot you could do with that, and it would allow them to expand his sister's character and what she's been doing, Awkwafina's character a little bit. They'd have a little more room to play.
That's what I was thinking too, yeah.
I just assumed there'll be a sequel because the first one was so commercially successful.
Yeah.
And it was commercially successful without them going to China with the film. So that tells me that we're getting a second film at some point.
Probably.
What about the Eternals? Do you think we get a follow-up with that? I mean, the thing is that we had that post-credit scene again. It's seeming to indicate...
Well, they kind of confirmed the Celestials.
As its own show or like a movie?
Well, I think that'll be a movie.
Oh,
and so I think that'll sort of be the Eternals sequel, but it won't necessarily be, these are your main characters again. They're just going to be part of it.
And then we'll get, what's his fucking name?
Star Fox.
Yeah. We'll get him in the movie, you think?
I mean, yeah. You don't bring in Harry Styles for a cameo unless you're going to use him more. Yeah. And I heard somebody mention that, they would love to do just a story about Star Fox and Pip.
Okay, interesting.
So that would be kind of funny, too. But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But really, I think the two things that everybody is sort of curious about where they're going to fall in Phase 6 is the mutants and Deadpool 3.
Yeah, where does the mutants fit in? If we're getting Fantastic Four, ideally, possibly, at the beginning of the phase, looking at that picture, unless, like you said, there was that blank before Fantastic Four, would they do the mutants and Fantastic Four back-to-back? And also, would it be a movie, or is it better suited as a show?
It depends on what you want to do. Are they going to follow Professor Xavier and the X-Men again, or are they just going to introduce individual mutants and sort of have them doing their own thing? I think you kind of need them before Secret War, but you don't need them near Fantastic Four.
Could that be what we get in between, and it takes place before Kang Dynasty, but it comes out after Kang Dynasty? Could that fill one of the slots?
It could be.
I could see it being either winter 2024 or spring 2025.
Yeah, I would like some space in between that and Fantastic Four, but that seems like, I don't know, to wait any longer on that would be odd if they waited until Phase 7 or whatever. So, like you guys said, Phase 6 makes the most sense. What about Armor Wars? I know that was confirmed a while ago. I thought that was happening soon, but looking at the Phase 5 lineup, it's not, unless they add it somewhere. And Phase 6 would make sense, but they didn't announce it during the Phase 6 announcement, although we know it's happening, so I don't know really what's going on there.
Don Cheadle said something about that. Yeah, I thought I read something that Don Cheadle, had just started doing something with that, so maybe they are filming or something. I don't know, but...
Yeah, I think they're filming it now.
Oh, okay.
We've seen, set photos for certain stuff.
Yeah. It might be one of those things where they want Ironheart out there first, and then maybe she'll be part of Armor Wars.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I thought it started filming, because I thought we saw some stuff with Ironheart already.
Yeah, we got to see her in like the green screen suit that's not really a full suit. She's just walking around with a couple pieces on.
Yeah.
And then there was some concept art revealed that showed what her Mark 1 is supposed to look like, which is like kind of similar to Tony's original, but much more condensed. But yeah, I could see her being heavily involved with the Armor Wars stuff and it being her and Rhodey together.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I mean, I thought it was his show, then we heard about Ironheart. She's obviously going to be in Wakanda forever, so...
Yeah,
like
she's got her own show slated, too, at some point.
I thought her show was Armor Wars, or is that something... Or is it called Ironheart?
It's called Ironheart. At least tentatively it is.
Oh, wait, is that in Phase 5? Did we talk about that last time? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought she was a part of Armor Wars, but no, you're right. She has her own show. So if that's Armor Wars, then what's Battle World? Is that something that's coming out, or is that just rumored?
I think that's just rumored.
Yeah, that's a storyline from the comics, but it's nothing they've confirmed.
All right, yeah, it seems like that's just a fan theory right now. What about you mentioned it last time, Chris, I think. The show, and I forgot the character's name, but the character from Black Panther, and she was getting her own show. Is that still on?
Ironheart. That's Ironheart.
No, the other, that was in Black Panther 1.
Oh.
What's her name?
Okoye?
Okoye,
yeah. One of these things in Phase 6 is probably going to be the Dora Milaje.
Obviously a show, right?
Yeah, it's a Disney Plus show from what I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another one I thought. Well, when was that even announced? A while ago, or is that new?
It was shortly after Captain America and the Winter Soldier came out, where they're like, you guys are going to see more of the Dora Milaje. They're going to get her own show. It'll probably revolve around Okoye. Okoye.
Interesting, yeah.
So, and Denai Guerrera, like, she's super popular from The Walking Dead, and people loved her as Okoye. So you want to give her her own project.
Obviously, something that we see in Wakanda Forever is probably going to lead to that, right? Is what are they dealing with the aftermath of Wakanda Forever, or maybe it takes place before. Who knows?
I don't know. She's in the trailer, so I know she's going to be part of it.
Yeah, and if that comes out, that can come out in 2024 too, and it's only 2 years after Wakanda Forever, so it's not that long of a layoff. Nova was someone else that I saw people speculate maybe getting his own show, or I know he's been rumored for years, dating back to Endgame. People thought he was either going to be in it or that he made a cameo in the final scene, the final battle scene.
Oh, shit. People even thought he might be in Guardians 1. Just because of the Nova Corps.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So, with that being said, when do you think we get Nova? Does he get his own show, or does he pop up in one of these movies or shows?
I don't know. Phil, you'd know more about Nova than I do. I don't, know anything about his solo stuff.
I don't know. I'm surprised we didn't get Nova at all in Guardians at this point. It seems like that's pretty much a moot point now, heading into Guardians 3. I don't know. It seemed like they were going to use him at some point. I know that there's a younger Nova that they could use that was a part of an Avengers team with Kamala and Miles at some point. So maybe they'll introduce that version of the character. I don't know. But it would be weird if they don't ever use the original Nova at all.
Yeah, I was surprised we haven't seen him yet.
They could always go the route of having it be the original Nova already existed and is an older character.
Yeah, I could see that. They could do that and use Richard Rider for the first one, and then use Sam. Sam's the younger character later.
Because I think Kevin Feige mentioned something similar about Ghost Rider. When they introduce Ghost Rider, it's probably not going to be a young Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze might be an old man passing the torch on to one of the other guys who takes it on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it would be fun.
They didn't use Johnny Blaze in the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff either.
No, that was what's his name?
Why am I thinking of everybody's name but the one I'm thinking of? Danny Ketchum.
Robbie Reyes.
There you go, Robbie Reyes.
Robbie Reyes. And he was good, too. And it really sucks because Hulu was going to make a Ghost Rider show with him, and then that got canned.
Does that tie in at all to the Midnight Suns rumors going around right now?
I don't know. I think that's all rumors.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I know they've used Midnight Suns for like a video game or something. So
Yes,
just recently they came out with a bunch of Midnight Suns stuff for one of these Avengers like mobile games or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't for the main console game because all they've done with that is like Lady Thor.
Interesting. Now, I feel like that might be on the table at some point down the road, but I had seen other speculation about that. Something that we've talked about a lot over the years, dating back to when we first started doing these reviews of the shows. Young Avengers, is that something that we get before the Avengers, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars stuff, or do you think they wait until after that's all wrapped up to kind of introduce all the Young Avengers at once?
I don't think we get Young Avengers. I think we're just going to get a new team of Avengers made up of the Young Avengers characters.
Yeah, I think we definitely get that before Kang Dynasty, unless they're putting them all together for the first time in Kang Dynasty. But I would be really surprised if we don't get like a Disney Plus show putting those characters together first.
Yeah, I mean that would be perfect
almost like how the Defenders brought all the Netflix characters together, but that was their finale. Make something like that, but to kind of kick off the Kang Dynasty. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would make sense. I feel like a Young Avengers-esque show, whether it's called that or not, especially in Disney Plus. I mean, it's such a perfect fit for it too. And if they're going to be involved in the movies, I mean, we don't know how many people are going to be in these movies. It seems like a lot, and that's not even including people that could be brought back or with alternate timeline shit. I mean, it seems like there's going to be a lot going on.
We still don't even know what's going on with White Vision.
Yeah, where does he pop up next? Well, we know Wanda's probably being brought back at some point. I mean, she was written off in a way in that Doctor Strange movie where, you know, it was implied that she died, but you didn't see her get ripped apart. And even if she does, she could always be brought back. So I feel like maybe, I don't know how that arc will be capped off. I'm not exactly sure. What is Wonder Man? I saw that rumored or announced or something recently. Who even is Wonder Man?
Wonder Man, like, technically already exists in Marvel. They've had some references to it in the Guardians movies, and it's Nathan Fillion on the poster.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I don't know if that's what they're actually doing. I don't know if Nathan Fillion will actually play Wonder Man.
Do you think that'd be a show or a movie that just seems so random?
I don't know if he'd get his own thing. I think he'd be a character. Like, it's kind of like how Namor is being brought in through Black Panther. I could see them using Wonder Man as a side character in something else.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I just saw that. I don't know if it was confirmed, but it was a pretty reputable source that was talking about Wonder Man. First of all, I had no idea who the hell it was, and I'm thinking, I mean, where is that even going to be, again, included amongst all this other stuff? The last title we'll talk about here, you talked about it, or you mentioned it before, Chris, but Deadpool 3, I mean, for me, as far as where they fit that in, how they introduce him, where he pops up first, to me is most interesting, because I love those first two movies, and obviously those were not in the MCU, but like how they include it, how they explain it, that to me is what's most fascinating. And they've had the rights to it for a little while now, and if they wait till phase 6, and it's not going to be until fucking 2025, that's a while. The second one came out 4 years ago, and the first one came out 2 years before that. So, I mean, I feel like we're going to see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in some other project. I mean, people are speculating She-Hulk. I don't know about that, just due to the whole fourth wall breaking stuff, which it's possible. I'm not predicting.
I think that's just fan fiction.
Yeah, but I mean, I could definitely see him popping up and making an appearance somewhere before he gets his own movie at some point, which has already been confirmed for some point later down the road, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely happening pretty soon. I would bet it happens before the X-Men movie. I mean, just the way that they're letting us know other mutants exist, because, I mean, now, like, Kamala's a mutant in this canon. Namor is a mutant. I don't know if they're going to say he's a mutant in Black Panther, but he's definitely a mutant in the comics. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on Deadpool?
I think you need Deadpool to sort of be the way the mutants are like, I know they made a reference to Kamala having a mutation, quote unquote, but it feels like Deadpool would be the right way to actually bring, because Deadpool is a character that you can do things with a wink and a nod. So when Deadpool shows up, he can just look at the camera and be like, yeah, I know it's not Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy. Shut up and take it. Like, he can be that gap that bridges the new X-Men characters into the MCU while still allowing him to be the same Deadpool we already know.
Yeah, so like Phil said, you think we'll probably get that movie before X-Men, and then he'll probably be involved in the X-Men Mutants movie show, whatever it is?
Yeah, and I hope that we get the same version of Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead too. Like, I want them to both still be in it.
So you think, what's his name? Who does Thanos? Oh my god.
Josh Brolin.
Do you think Josh Brolin's going to be him too?
I mean, we don't need Cable necessarily, but it would be fun to have him since he's technically a descendant of Cyclops.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of interesting to watch him, like, interacting with his younger father or something like that. But again, it's one of those weird things where Deadpool, like, has a time travel device now, so they're probably just going to have him fuck up the timeline somehow.
Yeah.
And that's how he ends up in our MCU.
Yeah. No, they'll explain it. That's what I'm excited for most. I mean, you mentioned it right there, but as far as, like, him just breaking the fourth wall, and as far as the questions is where he's been this whole time, and if it's the same timeline, different timeline, whatever, he'll explain that. I mean, the guy had a fucking time travel, machine or whatever the hell it was at the end of his own movie 4 years ago. So they'll figure it out, and they'll explain it, I'm sure. Last thing, we already talked about Phase 6, so we'll put a bow on that. And there's a lot of stuff to look forward to is the bottom line. But I do want to get your guys' quick thoughts on the I Am Groot special, or shorts rather, that dropped a couple of weeks ago. 5 minutes each. There were 5 of them, so you can watch them all in 25 minutes. I thought they were really entertaining. Chris, I know you watched them. We mentioned that before we went live here. Have you caught them yet, Phil? And if so, what were your thoughts on them?
I have not watched them yet.
Oh, okay. Well, it only takes 25 minutes when you get a chance, and if you want to watch them, they're very entertaining. I would well recommend it.
Yeah, I think they're fun little bits of bite-sized content. It's perfect for Disney Plus. They're great for kids. Like, It's super kid-friendly. I won't say that it looks as good as, like, that's the one thing that I saw a lot of people commenting on, like, oh, this looks just like Baby Groot did in the movies. It's like, slow down, guys. No, it doesn't. Like, this is way more of a computer-animated look. It still looks like it's live action to some degree, but it's all fake. So it's definitely, like, a little different in terms of how Baby Groot looks. Plus, it's like a close-up on Baby Groot the whole time, so you're seeing him in full size.
No, I
thought they were fun.
Yeah, no, they were fun. Yeah, they didn't overstay their welcome, and there's only 5 of them, like I said, and they were, it's perfect. Do you think? I don't know how successful these were as far as how many people viewed them or whatever. I mean, they dropped all at one time too, so kind of watch them and you forget about them. It's not like they come out weekly, but do you think they do more of this sort of stuff in the future with smaller characters like Groot, even more tailored to kids than the shows already are?
Yeah, and I'm almost surprised that they weren't sticking these in front of the next 5 Marvel movies that came out. Like,
Space Them Out?
Yeah, they used to do that all the time, like a little bonus cartoon in front of a movie.
Yeah, like the Pixar movies.
Yeah, or like back in the day, you used to get Roger Rabbit cartoons before like live action movies sometimes.
I know they put one of them in front of Thor, I think, as like for test audiences. I didn't get one personally, but that's what I heard.
Oh, they did. I heard about that actually.
At least one of them, not all of them. Yeah.
There was only one of these that even had dialogue in it. Like all of them were just Groot going about his business, and then there's one with Rocket for a few scenes, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's like I said, like the Pixar ones. A lot of those don't have dialogue either. So, no, I thought these were well done. I would love to see more of them in the future. But speaking of which, like I said, Phase 6, a lot to look forward to there. But we got Phase 5 first, and the rest of Phase 4, which is going to include Black Panther, coming up in November. But before that, which we won't talk about here now, we'll wait until after it's over, but She-Hulk already streaming on Disney+. We'll do a wrap-up of that when that wraps up. I think in 2 months, because that one's going to have 9 episodes, not 6, and they didn't drop 2 or 3 at once. It was 1 episode last week. So that's going to be going on for a while. We have that to look forward to, and so far I thought it was off to a good start. I enjoyed it, and I know you guys share the same sentiments as well. But on that note, we'll catch you on the next one. Chris, you're on the Twitter machine at BR_Doctor. Phil, you're on the Twitter machine at PhilDL616, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.